We've got a new Batwoman, the first trailer for the Suicide Squad is out, and the final release date is set for Black Widow. It's the Nerd News headlines for March 28th, 2021. Good afternoon, everybody. Your old pal Mark Cappis here with another installment of Nerd News Headlines, my weekly recap of all the nerdy news you may have missed. It's finally starting to warm up outside. I barely took a moment to acknowledge that last weekend was the first day of spring. I should have been able to tell by the snowstorms we had this past week. It's not really spring unless Old Man Winter makes one last desperate stab. Anyway, on with the show. We have ourselves a new Batwoman. It was announced this past week that Wallace Day will be taking the role of Kate Kane on TV's Batwoman. Kate Kane is Bruce Wayne's cousin and fellow defender of Gotham City. Day is already a veteran of the DC television universe, having been one of the stars of Krypton, where she played Superman's grandmother. Ruby Rose left the role of Kate Kane about a year ago, and Day was an early fan favorite to take on the role. Of course, this makes the whole Batwoman situation a whole lot messier. See, Ruby Rose was the original Kate Kane, but she left the series after one season for reasons that were vague at best. They say it had nothing to do with the fact that she was almost paralyzed doing her own stunts, but I'm pretty sure it had something to do with the fact that she was almost paralyzed doing her own stunts. Rather than recast the role, the creators decided to introduce a new Batwoman, Ryan Wilder, as played by Javicia Leslie. So now that Kate Kane's coming back on the show, people are rightfully asking what's going to happen to Ryan Wilder. And if you were just going to recast Kate Kane anyway, why didn't you do that in the first place? Oh well, I still watch the show, so I can hardly wait to see how this is all going to play out. I'll probably update you on a future episode. We've got a couple of writers for a couple of DC films. Fresh off her Oscar nomination last week, Emerald Fennell is being sucked into the DC universe. The promising young woman writer and director has been tapped to write DC's upcoming Zatanna film. For those who don't know the comics, Zatanna is a sorceress who dresses like a Vegas stage magician and casts her spells by speaking backwards. Zatanna herself has not been cast yet. This film will be going straight to HBO Max. Meanwhile, Randy McKinnon has just been tapped to write the Static Shock movie. Static is the superhero name of Virgil Hawkins, an African-American teen who can control electricity. McKinnon worked on the Disney Plus original film Safety along with director Reginald Hudlin. Hudlin is already attached to Static Shock as a producer, and also attached as a producer, Michael B. Jordan. I don't think they've decided yet if this one's going to go straight to HBO Max or if it's going to be hitting theaters. We finally got our first look at the first big DC movie coming out this year. Well, besides the Snyder Cut, of course. It's our first trailer for The Suicide Squad.
You gotta be kidding me. You're gonna risk the entire mission for a mental defective dressed as a court jester.
It's coming from a guy that wears a toilet seat on his head.
We don't leave one of our own behind.
Hopefully Harley's still alive.
No funny business, Colonel. These are dangerous people.
Team 2 is clear to go.
Fire up. 3, 2.
What are you guys doing?
What?
We're here to save you.
You were gonna save me?
It was a really good plan, too.
Well, I can go back inside and you can still do it.
That's patronizing.
I'm so sorry. Harley Quinn.
Bloodsport.
Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn is the writer and director behind this sequel to the 2016 DC superhero team. Returning from the first film is Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang, Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag, and Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. Joining them this time out are Idris Elba as Bloodsport, John Cena as Peacemaker, and an all-star cast including Peter Capaldi, Michael Rooker, Pete Davidson, and Nathan Fillion. I believe in the business this is what they call a soft reboot. There's enough being carried over from the last film that it still works as a sequel, but there's enough new stuff that it works as its own thing. And it always made sense to me that James Gunn is making it, because the first film always felt like DC's reaction to Guardians of the Galaxy. The Suicide Squad will be hitting theaters on August 2nd. If theaters aren't open yet, it'll be on video on demand as well. Now it's over to that corner of the DC universe that I like to call the Shazamiverse. Legendary Oscar winner Helen Mirren has joined the cast of Shazam 2, the proper title being Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Mirren will be playing the Greek goddess Hespera, the daughter of Atlas. As this is not a character who was ever in the original comics, it's unknown how this is all going to play out. Zachary Levi returns as the titular hero, and Asher Angel is back as his young alter ego Billy Batson. Shazam! Fury of the Gods is aiming for a June 2023 release. And let's not forget that Shazam's evil doppelganger Black Adam is also getting his own solo film. In the past few years in the comics, Black Adam has evolved into being more of an anti-hero, and Dwayne Johnson has been attached to play Black Adam for over a decade now. Anyway, it was announced this past week that former James Bond Pierce Brosnan is joining the cast as the DC hero Dr. Fate. For those who don't know comics, Dr. Fate is DC's answer to Doctor Strange. He's the most powerful sorcerer who's often called upon to help fight magical threats. Dr. Fate will be joining his fellow Justice Society of America members Atom Smasher, Hawkman, and Cyclone as they all fight against Black Adam. They start filming next month, and the release date is still undecided. Let's move on from DC to Marvel. While the Hawkeye series hasn't premiered yet, Marvel is already talking about doing a spin-off. Word this week that they've begun developing a series around the character of Echo. Like the villainous Taskmaster, Echo's powers, she can duplicate any fighting style just by watching someone. Unlike Taskmaster, she's a hearing-impaired First Nations woman. She's being played by Alaqua Cox in the upcoming Hawkeye series. Screenwriters Etan Cohen and Emily Cohen have already been tapped to develop the series. Disney has shaken up their release schedule one last time, and it looks like we're finally going to be getting the Black Widow movie. The Marvel superhero film will finally be hitting theaters on July 9th. Not only will it be hitting theaters, but it will also be getting a premiere access release. That means if theaters aren't open yet in your region, or you just don't feel like going out, you'll be able to drop the extra $35 to catch it on Disney+. In order to accommodate Black Widow's new release, Shang-Chi has been moved from July to September, and Eternals is still on track for November. Disney is also giving the same treatment to Cruella, their Secret Origin of Cruella de Vil film. It'll be hitting theaters and Disney Plus with premiere access on May 28th, and Pixar's next film, Luca, will be heading straight to Disney Plus on June 18th. That one's part of the regular subscription package, no premiere access for Luca. Dude, don't get me wrong, I loved WandaVision, and I'm loving Falcon and the Winter Soldier right now, but I am dying to see some Marvel on the big screen again. July 9th, that's just 2 days after my birthday, and ever since my 11th birthday, I have always seen a movie on my birthday. So, Black Widow, you're gonna be my birthday movie this year. Hoping, of course, that the movie theaters are open by then. It's been nothing but Marvel and DC this week, so let's wrap things up with one of my favorite franchises, Transformers. I loved the toys when I was a kid, and in these pandemic times, the old cartoon from the 80s has been one of my comfort food shows. Angel Manuel Soto has just signed on to direct a new Transformers movie. We were talking about him a couple weeks ago because Soto is also doing a Blue Beetle movie for DC. Writing Soto's Transformers film is Marco Ramirez, who was a writer on Marvel's Daredevil series on Netflix and co-creator of Marvel's Defenders series for Netflix. Just not getting away from Marvel and DC, are we? Well, let's do a quick recap of some of the other Transformers movies that are currently in development. Toy Story 4 director Josh Cooley is giving us an animated prequel about the wars on Cybertron. Creed 2 director Stephen Caple Jr. is giving us Bumblebee 2. And screenwriter James Vanderbilt is developing a Beast Wars movie. We have no idea which of these 4 Transformers movies is going to hit theaters first, but Paramount already has one penciled in for June of 2022. And that's all the nerdy news that tickled my fancy this past week. I think I'll be taking next week off because next Sunday is Easter Sunday, so I'll probably be too busy gorging myself on Easter ham and Cadbury cream eggs to put a show together. In that case, I hope you have yourself a very happy Easter. I'm sure all 8 of you who actually watch this will be very disappointed that you didn't have a fat nerd reading week-old movie news to you. Bye!